And these happen to be the Harbinger VR-412 full range powered speakers. If you've purchased or rented these and you'd like to know how to hook them all up, this is the video that's going to get you all started. Now, if you haven't done this before, that's okay. I'm going to go step by step through the hookup connection process. We're going to be doing it with a microphone, 1 and 2 speaker options. We're going to also have the mixer involved, and we're going to end the video with a subwoofer. So if you're trying to hook up all the equipment, you want to make sure you get it all right and that you're able to understand the back panel. We're going to cover all that in today's video. If this video at any point in time becomes helpful and you feel like you'd like to subscribe, please do so. And if I've answered your questions, hit that like button. I'll see you at the end. Thanks for watching. So here's going to be our basic setup. We are going to work with just one speaker. Then we're going to add the mixer, and then I'm going to show you how to add a second speaker if those are the type of connections you'd like to have. You may or may not have rented or purchased a mixer like this, but if you haven't, it's okay. They are generally the same. These are like cars. The buttons and knobs are in different places, but they all do the same thing. So if you're looking for the gas pedal or the brake, it will all be here. So let's start with the actual speaker, and we'll work our way across. When we first power up the speaker, what we want to see is that the speaker is defaulting the routing option in normal mode. That's the very first light up here. Stereo is going to allow us to have 2 speakers connected in a stereo mode using the linked out option. And then the link in is if we're going to use this as a secondary speaker. So that would be what we're going to do next. When you rent a speaker, the dials sometimes are not exactly where they're supposed to be. So the best thing is to make sure everything is set back to neutral or off. In this case, bring all the buttons down. These are bass and treble buttons. They can stay vertical. That's okay. These dials are going to be used for adjusting your room. Your room might have a lot of carpeting in it. It may be a smaller space. You may not be playing it with a lot of volume. So you're going to want to adjust and bring up the bass or treble a bit. If you're having a hard time with higher end clarity, this is where it's going to happen on the treble. If you want to increase the low end bass, that's going to happen right here. Now the button located at the far end represents subwoofer. So in the first case, we're going to have no sub, so we're going to want to see that light off. If you do plan on using Bluetooth, now's the time to turn on your device and then hold the Bluetooth button down. It'll start the flash scan on your phone. You'll actually find the Harbinger speaker that you're looking for, this particular model, and you'll be able to connect to it. Adjust the volume on your phone, and then adjust the volume accordingly to the actual input 3. Now there are more features available for the Bluetooth, but again, we'll cover that in a separate video. Now connecting a microphone is very straightforward. Make sure you have a microphone. Make sure you have a cable. You can go wireless, which means the cable would be going to the actual receiver and straight into the back. But in this case, this video is all about hooking up with a corded microphone and setting up, so this way you feel comfortable about it. So at this point, so a wireless mic would just add an extra piece in between to cut the cord, and that's fine. In this case here, we're just going to be plugging in straight into number 1. We're going to make sure number 1 is set to mic input. Then we're going to adjust up the volume just like that. And it's done. That's it. No difference. Now, of course, if all I'm going to be doing is speaking into the actual unit, I'm going to move it over to speech. That's going to give us the best opportunity to have the most amount of volume with the least amount of feedback breaking through. And that is as complicated as that gets. Very straightforward. Now, of course, you definitely want to see your speaker on a stand. You want to make sure that if you're standing in the back of the room behind everybody who's in that hall, you can still see the speaker. That tells you that you've placed the speaker high enough on the stand. Now, remember, that's with all the people in the room, not when it's empty. So I want to be able to clear everybody when it comes height-wise, and I want to be able to get to the back of the room and still see the speaker. So now that we've covered the features on the first speaker, let's connect the first speaker to the second speaker. And that's going to require only one cable. It requires one XLR cable. Make sure you get an XLR cable that's going to be long enough to cover the distance. If you're putting these across an entire stage in an auditorium, then you're probably going to want to make sure you have a 100-foot cable. Now in this case, these speakers are going to be set up pretty much next to each other. So for me, a 15-foot cable will do just fine. Now, the first thing we're going to want to do is hook up from our main speaker, linked out on the back of that unit. We're going to come across and we're going to go straight into the linked in on the second speaker. We have now physically connected 2 speakers together. So in turning on your speakers, you want to start from the very beginning. So in this case, this speakers are first. We're going to turn this one on first. It plugs into the second one. Once that one's powered up and the lights have all gone off, you're ready to turn on the second speaker. It'll go through the exact same process. Now, how do we actually manage this so this way they both run together, and all we need to do is use the controls on one speaker to operate it. We go to the second speaker. We're going to set that speaker to linked in. So now it says link in on the back of the speaker. It's only going to take a signal from here. The speaker is going to be controlled by this speaker. So now this speaker needs to either be in normal mode, which means mono. So if, again, my intention is to plug in just one microphone, or maybe a keyboard, or maybe to have a second mic or guitar plugged into it, then in that case, I can leave it in mono. But if I do want to have the true stereo sound, I can move it over to stereo, and still it says stereo master. So that means these two speakers are now going to work as a left and right. But remember, all the volume controls, all the adjustments will be done on this speaker. All those options stop working on this speaker here. This is just basically being controlled by the first speaker. So let's turn them off. Let's add a mixer to this package. Now again, this is where you want to make sure that your mixer and your speaker have the proper cables, if you're renting it, to make sure that it hooks up properly. Have a look at your mixer, but if you're not comfortable with that, ask them to confirm. Can you show me where the plugs are for the cables I have to go from this mixer to that speaker? So once you have your product picked out at the actual store, be it Music and Art or Guitar Center, you're going to want to ask the assistant to show you the cables and where they're going to go, because you want to confirm that the cables are physically have the right ends on them to make that connection. So in this case, I'm going to need an XLR out, and I'm going to need 1/4 inch on this end here. So this way I can plug into the two channels. So what do? The associate's going to take the cable. He's going to demonstrate to you, or she's going to demonstrate to you, that all you need is this cable here to make the first connection, and the second identical cable to complete the connection. It's going to have a XLR female, and that is going to connect right here. And the second cable is identical to the first cable. It's going to run parallel right out. Right to right, left to left. This is now complete. I can plug my microphone in and we're all set. And also in this video, I'm going to be adding the link at the end of the page. It's going to bring you to the actual rental information page. So this way you can learn more about everything we talked about in this video. That'll be at the end of the video. We'll also have the links down below. So microphone can go into channel 1. We're all good to go. Now remember, turning things on is very important. You want to start at the very beginning of your signal. So you want to start with the mixer first, fall to the speaker the mixer is connected to, so that comes out of here and goes into here, so that'll be the next speaker we turn on. And then all of this comes to here, and that's the last speaker we turn on. And now we can come to the actual microphone settings, and we can come here and see exactly what's going on. We're going to cut ourselves off for the high pass. We're going to bring up the gain a bit. We're going to check our mixers. This way we're running at unity. We're happy with everything that we've done on this channel right here. And there we are. Everything is all set up. When in doubt, start everything off at 12 o'clock and make sure that your monitor's off, your effects are off, you don't want them, your pan is set to the middle. And you'll notice that we're jumping right here. And then you'll notice that at this point, all we need to do is bring up input number 3, because that's where we plugged into, and we're going to get volume just like that. Everything is done, nothing more complicated than that. So there you go. That is how we hook up everything we need to get sound from this mixer all the way across. Now, of course, we have other equipment. Again, we're going to plug that all in here. This mixer happens to have Bluetooth, so if I plan on using a Bluetooth function, I would go here instead of the speaker. The speaker is just going to be used for power the driver, amplify the sound in the venue. And the one thing you'll also notice is that I used the master volume up first, made sure that my mixer sounded appropriate to the room space that I wanted. The adjustment on the back of the speaker is going to determine how big and how loud you want that volume in that room size. Always pay attention to this as being your last dial. Mixer should be run right from here, so you know if it's off, it's off. If it's at 0, it's basically ready to go at full volume. Make sure the speaker on the back is adjusted according to the room size by turning up the actual input. And then at that point, all you need to do is turn up the volume on the back of the speaker to match the room size. Now, of course, at this point, you are more than welcome to adjust and tweak it a little bit to see if you can make it sound better in the room that you're in, because that's what you want. Everything after this is like treating this like coffee. You're adding cream and sugar to the mix. making it the way you want to sound it. There's no wrong or right way. There's just the best way it's going to sound in the environment you're in. So now at this point, we're going to add a subwoofer to the whole mix, and we're going to do that off of our main speaker right here. So now we're going to be hooking up the subwoofer. So we're going to go on our main speaker that we have all the cables brought to from the mixer and our link out. We're going to come here and we're going to see that we have a mixed out option. This mixed out is going to allow us to connect to the subwoofer. Now again, before we plug and connect anything, we want to turn everything off. And how do we turn things off? In backwards, in reverse from how we actually turned it on. So my second speaker went off first, my main speaker off, and then the mixer can go off. Everything is now off. All we need to do is get an XLR cable from here mixed out. So again, if you're renting the equipment, make sure that they show you the appropriate cable to make the connection between the speaker and the subwoofer. So we're going to plug right into where it says mixed out. So looking at the back of the subwoofer, we're going to notice some things have been adjusted, moved, depends on how the last rental went. Or if it's brand new, these things will all be set down to the bottom. First thing we're going to want to do is plug our XLR cable into input 1. We're going to want to make sure our polarity is set to normal. Level is set to -10 for commercial equipment. Volume is down. And then we're going to look at our time alignment delay, and we're going to have that off. And we're going to adjust ourselves for a 12 to 15 hertz driver. So we're going to set ourselves at 90. We could possibly go to 100. Depends on the room. I would go and try it between 115 and 80 and see how you feel about the sound coming off of the driver. What it sounds like to you is going to be important at the end of the day. But normally I like running it at around 90. So now it's time to turn on our equipment. If we have a mixer, we're going to turn that on first. We're going to wait for that to set itself. Give it a few seconds. Then we're going to turn on our main speaker. We're working our way down, as you can see, to our secondary speaker, and last but not least, our subwoofer. Why do we do that? So any power surge that comes off of any equipment as we turn it on will not trickle down and cause any of the other speakers to pop. That's the main reason. Now that everything's powering up, before we even get to our mixer, what we want to do is look at this one control right here where it says sub out cut. Press that button, turn that on. So now we've engage the option for subwoofer control. Now all we're really doing here is cutting the bass out of the top, letting that 150 hertz make its way down to the subwoofer, giving us optimal more volume capability on top, but also giving us a good bass performance down below. Now the last thing to do is just adjust the volume levels on the back of the subwoofer. I would start with no more than about 25 to 30%, and we'll fine tune that as we go. Now you'll notice here that there's a time alignment delay. For this, you're going to be comfortable using an actual meter for your speakers to measure the dB in the room. Always handy to have, but if you don't have it, leave it off. If you do have it, it allows you to set up in the middle of the room, have somebody hold the meter weighted, that means in C, and be able to adjust the actual time alignment on the subwoofer to give you maximum bass response between the top and the subs. That's what that's there for. But if you don't have, that's okay, just keep it off, you'll be fine. So well, I do hope this helps you out a bit in actually getting your system started. If you're renting it and you're using it for the first time, it's okay. This is all going to be laid out for you at the bottom. So you can always play back some parts. You should be covered. These are the same instructions that are available to you on Guitar Center's Versa rental page, showing you all the breakdown. So I'm trying to run concurrent with what they're saying, so this way it all matches up. Again, if you have any questions or comments, leave them down below. I like to say hit that like button because that would be awesome. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do. See you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.